hoping it hits you in the head.
All right, guys, welcome back. This seat of ours. Jeff, how are you?
Good.
Okay. My name is Abel Tavares. Welcome back to all our new friends, our new listeners. We hope everybody's doing well. We have news, guys. We have a new addition to the family. Jeff?
I have a son now.
No, you had a son. You have two sons now.
I have two.
What's his name? Talk to us
Julius.
about it. Julius what?
Julius Angel.
Okay, what day was he born?
March 10th.
March 10th. Just the day after the greatest rapper of all time died.
Yes.
Right? What's he like?
He sleeps a lot.
Okay.
He eats a lot. And he goes to the bathroom a lot.
Sounds like a Tavares man to me. Cool. Congratulations to obviously to you and to Julie. Julie is home. She's doing well. Mama's doing good too as well.
Yep.
It was a long labor and a healthy baby, so we're all happy. And our Jaden has a new brother now, so congratulations to that. We hope everybody's doing well. It's been an interesting start of the year. We're about a quarter of the way, and it feels like every day we get a little crazier, and there've been a lot of events happening. And one thing that Jeff and I touched on a little bit in one of the earlier episodes were the events and the congresses. And today we felt like we would just kind of talk a little bit more about that and touch on them. Right, Jeff?
Okay, we could do that.
Okay, so our first Congress that we ever went to was?
What was our first Congress?
It
was New York Salsa Congress.
That was the first one that we went to?
Yes, sir.
Because we started dancing in July.
I started dancing in July of 03.
But we went back July of 04. And then New York was 2 months after that.
No. We did not go that year to the New York Congress.
We didn't?
No. We went in 2005.
Okay.
So let me backtrack a little bit if we're going to talk about it, just so everybody knows. The Salsa Congresses were not always a thing. They weren't always there. I feel like a lot of new dancers feel like
this is just the way it is. They just exist.
Right.
And they're part of the matrix, in other words.
Right. So the first Congress was Puerto Rico Salsa Congress.
First ever Congress, you mean?
First Congress ever was Puerto Rico Salsa Congress. It was in 1997. I'm pretty sure it was 1997. I don't remember the date or anything like that because there's videos coming out now, but there's not a lot of archives that I've been able to get to. This is something that I'm kind of working on now. So Puerto Rico Salsa Congress, it was promoted by Eli from Puerto Rico.
He still does that, if I'm not mistaken.
He still does Puerto Rico.
Right?
He was the first one to put this concept together. And the way I look at a Salsa Congress, it's like a work conference, right? Like when you're at work, they send you to these PDs or professional development conferences. And what ends up happening is that usually you go to class all day, right? Like you pick the workshops you want to do. And then in a regular PD, you usually like have an event at night, some type of party. So the Congress is kind of similar model. The only difference is that, there's shows, and then after shows, there's the party.
Yeah.
So Puerto Rico Salsa Congress started it all in 1997.
Yeah. And Nelson touched on that when he was on this show, too.
Yes.
Because he went to the first Congress in Puerto Rico.
Nelson performed at the first Puerto Rico Salsa Congress. I believe it was called Bacardi at the time. I think they were.
That was their sponsor.
That was their sponsor. So when they initially put it together, they had sponsors. I know a big milestone for Puerto Rico was 99. So I heard 97 was the initial. 99, I hear that year thrown out a lot. I believe Eddie Torres went with like an ensemble of dancers.
Yeah.
There was controversy with that because from the way I understand it, is that, people were doing just a salsa routine and he was coming out and he had someone doing hustle and
I've seen that.
yeah. No, it's on YouTube now.
Yeah.
I believe, I think in one of the earlier episodes we touched on Monty. So when I first started dancing, all the dancers that we took classes with, they always referred back to a routine, Eddie Torres routine, called Monty.
Yes.
I believe, he had Jay Catalano and Daniel Ramirez, Franklin Diaz, Frankie Martinez, Candy Mena, Duplessis. I mean, to name a few. Excuse me?
Jorday was on that team, I think, too.
I think Jorday was on that team, I believe. I'm not sure. But either way, they always talked about this routine Monty. It was a Shines routine. And I always heard talk about it. So I believe they performed Monty in 1999 at the Puerto Rico Salsa Congress. And I believe it was something epic. Like, just based on my experience with everybody else. Interestingly enough, it's on YouTube now. But Abel and I spent years trying to find a video of that routine.
And we couldn't.
We spent years looking for a copy of Monty, and we couldn't find it. Right? And I'll give you guys an interesting fact. In 2004, AJ auditioned for Mambo's Finest Take 2, which was Tiffany's
youth group.
And to audition for the group, you had to create a little choreography. And Abel choreographed Shine to Monty.
I don't even remember that, bro.
But it happened.
It did. I actually got dressed up for that.
I know. And me and Papi went to see the audition. Shout out to Pop. Me and Pop went to
for all
see your
you
audition.
people out there that don't think that we did all the weirdest things, we did them all, bro. There's nothing that you can be brought up
They
to.
literally said, Abel wants to audition for this group.
And I
he went up there and stood up, and me and my
everybody
father
had to
there
watch
looking
me.
like this. And he went, he did
And I
it.
did my number. I nailed that shit, too. I worked on that for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
How
So-
things change.
So anyway,
sorry, I had to be
so from, cut me off because I just want people to get an idea of what's going on so they can understand it better. So from there, you get the West Coast Salsa Congress.
Can I say something real quick? The Eddie Torres numbers, we didn't see them. It was almost like if you weren't there, you missed out. So we definitely didn't get to see those numbers. But we heard and we would see pictures of the costumes.
Recording a routine was very, very taboo.
Yeah. That wasn't a thing back then.
That wasn't allowed.
But one thing that I will say that I always remember, the costumes were always super extravagant. From the pictures. It always looked better than everything else that we saw.
Well, Eddie Torres' routine was kind of like Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Right? It was like you would hear the legend.
Yeah.
You wouldn't hear Eddie did a dope routine. You'd hear, hey man, he had timbales on remote control cars and they were moving. I've never seen that, but I've heard that.
Yeah,
so
I saw a glimpse of that somewhere, the timbales. So again, this is a big thing. At the time, that was a big, in the routine, his artistic mind, he actually had remote controlled timbales that would move throughout the stage during the number. And again, this is 25 years ago.
Again, I've never seen it.
Yeah.
But I've heard it. I've heard the legend.
I've seen it. I've seen a clip of it somewhere.
So you weren't allowed to record. You didn't record classes. You didn't record routines. As a matter of fact, I remember my first year in Santo Rico, they were choreographing Avísale mi contrario.
Yeah.
And they debuted in New York Congress 2006.
Yeah.
And that Monday, somebody put that video on YouTube. And Thomas flipped. And he made them take it down, and they did. He wrote to them, and they took it down.
Wow.
Because it was still...
Can I give a quick shout out?
Mm-hmm.
Yo, shout out to Daniel Enscat. Daniel Enscat recorded every class for years. I don't know how he did it, but he was the one that had...
Daniel Enscat has to have an incredible library.
He does.
Of information.
He definitely does. That's so... Oh, my God. He recorded everything.
He did. He documented everything.
Yeah, good for
You
him.
know what's funny? We documented nothing. If you think about it.
We didn't know.
I'm not talking, but I'm not just talking about moves. I'm talking about like
Pictures, events.
our experience.
Yeah, we didn't do anything.
Document it. It's all here.
Yeah. And it's all very vivid too.
And that's, I'm a little flattered sometimes when like some of the people in my circle, they say like, they'll be like, oh, Jeff, we like to hear you tell stories. That makes me feel good. I'm gonna be honest. It's something I like to do, but it's like if I don't remember it, it's gonna be gone. So I work hard
to remember,
to really go through my experiences, as corny as it sounds.
Yeah.
But that's something I do because I just feel people should like. I'm gonna kind of go off topic slightly, and this is one thing that really pisses me off a lot about Billy Fajardo. And whenever we get into this argument, he cuts me off. He always cuts me off, right?
I can't wait for Billy to hear this.
So Billy he'll be like, let me ask you a question, Jeff. What do you know about the Latin symbolics? And I'll go, initially I was like, well, I don't know anything about the Latin symbolics. You see that? They were like the original group. This is the reason why you dance. And you don't even know that. And I go, you're right, I don't. But you have that information and you don't share that. So who's wrong here? A lot of the information in our scene is kept close to the chest and nobody wants to share it.
Yeah.
So how am I going to stand in front of my class and big up a team that I know nothing about?
Yeah.
Right? When I play music in class, a lot of times I'll say like, hey, this was a routine done by so-and-so. But the only way I could do that is if I know about it. If I don't know about it, I can't do it.
I think his point is maybe we don't do our due diligence. I don't think he means us. I think he means it as a whole, right? Maybe he
No, I don't think that's what it is. You want me to tell you what I think it is? I disagree with you. What I think is that makes him special. Like the fact that a lot of people,
you're loosening it to the right.
I know that. A lot of people that that have this information, they know that they have it and that nobody else has it.
Do you think that?
Yeah. Right? And and a lot of people are afraid of what you're gonna do with this information.
I guess if that's what you think.
Huh?
What are we gonna do with it except talk about it and share it?
Yes, but that's the thing. That's
like what? All right, let me ask you another. Let me ask you a better question.
Try not to go there.
That sounds simple.
And you're making me.
No, I'm saying like, what's the nefarious thing that we're gonna do with that information?
Well, we could make a documentary and sell it.
Oh, okay. Not yet.
I'm not.
Not yet.
Well, listen.
We floated our own idea to do our own documentary. Yes. But I guess I get what your point is in terms of him wanting to protect that, so that.
But I think. Listen, it does make him unique in information.
I get that, but at the same token, if he wants us, or if we're supposed to pay homage to it, which I don't have a problem doing, I think it goes back to your point. How do I pay homage to something that I don't know about?
Right. So that's my point, and I feel like there's a lot of information that people just hold on to. Because they don't want to share.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because, don't get mad at me for not preserving the history if you're not sharing the history.
I got you.
That's on you. That's my point.
Yeah.
You want me to share, you want the history to be out there? Then let's talk about it. Right? You don't want to talk about it?
I think that's fair.
Then don't get mad when nobody talks about you.
I agree with that. 100%. Fair enough.
Right? So I think like with everything in the scene, right? Like I just feel that a lot of things people think monetary first. And they don't realize that first of all, not everything is money. Okay? We're doing a podcast and we got a couple hundred views. We invested a lot of money into this.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not about making money. I feel like this like, for whoever watches it, you're gonna get something out of this.
In terms of what our scene is.
Yeah, you're gonna get something out of it in terms of.
And we didn't have this. It would have been nice if we would have had this when we started, because it would have given us better perspective on what this actually was.
Well, think about, how did we find all our information?
I remember two main sources.
Which were what?
SalsaNewYork.com.
Okay.
Right? What was his name? I'm sorry, man. I forgot. Steve Shaw.
Steve Shaw.
Shout out to Steve Shaw. Steve Shaw had a website called SalsaNewYork.com. And what it did was, it was a calendar of all the events that would go on, all the socials. Mm-hmm. And then he had a directory of all the actual companies.
And they had like feedback.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to take classes with somebody, he used to go and then write up.
Yeah. I remember something I remember very vividly. For the Vitico La Magia class, he called him the Spartan of the Bronx. That's how he described them. I'll never forget that. But also on this website, they had like lists of music. If you were interested in like downloading music or looking up artists, they had music. They had pictures of like certain events.
Mm-hmm. And it was great. It was great.
It was a big reference.
Obviously, social media
changes that. Yes. But at the time, everyone that had an event would call Steve, and he would post it on his website. And he was a DJ too.
Yeah,
he drove a dope ass BMW. He drove a dope ass Porsche.
Yeah,
he drove. And that was the first time I seen a dine-in BMW. He was driving it, and he drove that dope Porsche.
Yeah.
That was the one I remember, and then everything else was very much proactively us going out and searching for
and buying DVDs
and buying us
DVDs that none of them work anymore, but we were buying DVDs.
Yo, and then you know what? Back to the Eddie Torres thing. He wasn't really on the DVDs like that.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't allow anybody to record his stuff because he just felt he was exclusive.
Yes.
So, for example, if anybody has a copy of the first New York Salsa Congress,
East Coast,
which was called East Coast Salsa Congress, and it was in the Catskills.
Yes.
We weren't there, but we had the DVD. If you look at the beginning credits, right? I think you see the Timbales movie.
Yes. And they awarded him. They gave him an award at that event.
But none of that shows up in the DVD. You can't see it.
It's true.
There's no footage of it.
You still have those? They don't work?
They don't work.
Jesus Christ.
They don't work. And I just wrote out to CNR, like, to see if I could get a copy, and they're like, we don't have them anymore.
Really?
So
that shit is gone, bro? No, it can't be gone. You know, I gotta reach out to Debbie. So like
So those
videos were huge in preserving that was our reference to learning about what the hell this was, because we had no idea.
But again, that's the point that I'm trying to make, right? Because even in that situation, we have that routine from Eddie. Yeah. It's supposedly epic, but nobody's seen it.
Yeah.
So since nobody has seen it, nobody can talk about it. Nobody can say, well, this is one of the most creative things we saw. We just heard about it, but we've never actually seen it.
Yep.
So that's my only thing. You guys, when people say preserving and talking about history and giving props to people that came before them, well, you know what? There has to be more information shared.
Yeah, for us to be able to do that.
Right?
Either you're part of the Jeff says this, either you're part of the solution or you're part of the problem.
That's all I'm saying.
I got you. I agree with that.
All right. So, and just for context, like we brought up East Coast, West Coast Salsa Congress.
Yeah.
Right? Why East Coast, West Coast Salsa Congress? Because that's it. That's all there was. It was East Coast, which was New York, West Coast, which was LA.
And Puerto Rico.
And then everything started to expand.
Yes.
In terms of the congresses.
And I think that was particularly David, right? David kind of took that upon himself to start spreading.
I think. Well, I don't want to say something that's off, but I'm going to say it was a combination of David and Albert.
Yes.
Because Albert, the first New York Salsa Congress was Luis Agarra, David Melendez, and Albert Torres.
Albert Torres. You know, it's funny that, real quick, just so that everybody, our reference point is based off of what we saw. We didn't deal with Albert Torres So our reference point is more David Melendez. That's why I say David. So I don't want to discredit what Albert was doing. I'm just kind of
No, Albert. I think Albert was.
Yeah, but we didn't. We
because
never
remember,
went to,
LA was before.
Yeah.
West Coast was before East Coast.
Yeah. I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about what we were closer to.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. So it's. I just want to.
It's changed a lot.
It's changed a lot. It's changed. The unfortunate thing about Congresses is that, and I've said it before, but I'll throw it in there. Most people don't really understand the way it works. No, most people don't understand the mechanics of a Congress, and most people don't understand that there's a thin line between it being destroyed and it continuing.
Yeah.
It's very thin. David ran New York for a couple years, and to this day, everybody argues with me about how big it was when David had it, and it was big. But it was bigger with Choco. And
again, like, I think the moments are much more impactful than the actual, like, you're probably right? There's nothing to argue about. But I think that there's nothing that can compare to that first New York Congress that we went to. And the amount of people that were standing, Jeff.
But
because even when we go to BIG now and we look at where we were standing.
Yeah, BIG does not compare to the size.
To what David had.
To the size that David had it or Choco had it.
Yes.
And Choco more. See, look, here's the difference between David and Choco. David was loved by a lot of people.
Yeah.
But Choco was out there grinding.
He used to sell his t-shirts.
Yeah, but I'm not even talking about that. We would go do a show in Philly and Choco was there with a little TV and shirts.
Yeah.
We would go to...
He promoted a lot,
We would go to events. We went to Mambo City. And in Mambo City, Marlon was there selling tickets for the New York Congress. We would go to Candela in Germany. And there was a representative from New York when Choco had it.
Yeah.
So that 2010, that 10-year anniversary, because I proved it the other day. The other day, I was going back and forth, and they were like, BIG was packed. I was like, nothing like when Choco had it. And I argued with somebody. I don't remember who it was. We go back and forth, back and forth. And in 2010, we did Gangster to close Sunday.
I think I went to that.
You probably did. There's a video of it on YouTube, and I found it. When we finished, we got a standing ovation, so the camera spanned.
Yeah.
BIG has a wall that they put up in the back.
Yeah. Right where they put the vendors on the other side.
Okay. Choco didn't have that wall up, and it was packed all the way through to the following wall.
Yeah. That's why I wasn't.
And then there's another video of Ed doing social dancing with Julie, and you
on the carpet.
On the carpet, and you could just see how packed it was.
Yeah.
But he was, in my opinion, Choco had two things that really killed the situation, which was he tried to do a second event, the Big Apple something.
Yeah, I went to that too.
And he had to put it on the other side.
Yeah.
That was no good. And of course, when he left the Hilton and went to the New Yorker, that was...
We were there that day. You ever seen you ever see a car accident?
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I got sick right now. You know what that was like? You ever on the road and see an accident about to happen? How everything kind of moves in slow motion?
Like when a car's out of, and then it just hits the middle?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It felt like that on Thursday.
So just for context, that was my first year as a director. I
got there early.
And we had our training team performing Thursday.
I performed that day with Bridget.
So we got there super early. Nobody does that. Text at 5, yeah, I'll get that 8. Right?
Nah, we were got there at 1.
We were there super early because we were so excited and so nervous.
And we had a lot of students coming, bro.
And they moved it to the New Yorker on 34th Street and 8th Ave.
Yep.
We walk in, and I'll never forget this. We were the first ones there. And I looked at the room where the event is happening. And I go, yo, this is tiny. So
That shit
my
look like
first
our
thought
studio.
was
That shit look like our studio.
my first thought was this is gonna be packed and it's just gonna look super packed. That's what he's trying to do,
Yeah.
right? Because he had told me, yo, I cut down whatever. I think we sold 100 full passes for him that year.
Yeah, ourselves.
I go outside
And
and
there's
security is having a meeting.
it was a GM, it was the head of security of the hotel, and they had security guards and Choco.
They're having a meeting.
And he was still walking at that point.
Choco was like,
Just for context, he started the week walking and he ended on a motorized cart by Sunday.
they go like this. Check this out. They go, I don't care what he says. At 400 people, we close the doors. Nobody else goes in.
Yo. And me and Jeff looked at
And
each other.
we looked at each other, and I said, okay. I wrote to the team. I said, guys, I know I promised you guys certain things. We're not getting any of that. I said, do we want to debut or not? Because we have worked really hard on the debut.
Yeah.
Do we want to dance or not? If we don't want to dance, I'll walk now. Because this is going to be bad. No, let's do it. We want to dance, whatever. Because I like to give my team a say.
Yo,
things like that.
We started texting the students. Yo, you got to get here early.
We sent out an email blast. And we said, yo, if you guys want to go to this event, come pick up your bracelet today. If you don't pick up your bracelet today, you're not getting in.
Yo.
Because we sold 100 passes. And I went to Jackie and I said, Jackie, I gave him money for our students. And she's like, yo, I don't know what's going to happen. He thinks they're going to let people in. And then Thursday, every seat was taken.
Yo, yeah.
Every seat was taken on So I said, if every seat is taken on Thursday, what's going to happen?
On Saturday.
And then Friday, the line was around the block. We wrote to our students a second time. Guys, if you want to get in,
Got to come early.
come now. If not, you're not getting in here.
Yo.
And I said, well, I'm not responsible for what happens.
And then people start getting turned away at the door. Because we can't have the fire code. They hit their max. And they had a guy at the door with a clicker.
But
And every time someone would leave, he would remove one and then he would let one other person in. But they weren't even letting people into the hotel lobby.
Now, for context, check this out. And tell me if I'm wrong about this. You went to SBK this year, right?
Yeah.
You saw the size of their ballroom.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a 300-person capacity.
Nah, but it felt like, I think the New Yorkers was bigger though.
What?
Then
The New Yorker was way bigger, but I just want people to think about that.
yeah.
Imagine that would have happened to Angels.
Yeah.
What security did for the New Yorker.
Yeah.
He would have been shut down within the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And you know what? In Choco's defense, that's what he was banking on. He was banking on the fact that they were gonna let him go.
No, I know that.
But you see that? You see how disastrous something could be?
Mm-hmm.
If you plan and things just go slightly to the right, how disastrous
Yeah.
can you could literally just it could just literally fall on his face. And I just want to point something out for all the dancers in New York that get upset with me when I don't work.
We were, yo, let me tell you something. The first conversation Jeff and I had was, yo, we got to get the students in here and we got to get everybody in here early. And the second conversation was, we're not getting paid.
We're not getting paid. It's fine.
Leave
And
that
I
shit
didn't
alone.
get paid.
And you
I
know
did
what? We decided that on Thursday and we
knew it on Thursday.
Thursday we knew it.
But here's the one thing I'm going to bring up to all the dancers in New York that get upset when we don't work out a deal.
Yeah.
Right? What happens when shit goes sideways? Are you guys going to be willing to work it out? Or are you going to bring out the pitchforks and want to go after us? You know why? Because the pitchforks were out that day.
For Choco, yeah.
And nobody, listen, Choco came up to me. I didn't go up to him. He said, Jeff, I got to talk to you. And he said, this and this and this happened. And I said to him, you know where to find me? And I walked away. But that wasn't the case.
Nah, nobody, I'll be honest with you, I don't know who else did that. But I don't remember a lot of people doing that.
Well, a lot of people went for his head.
Yeah.
There was DJs that were like, yo, he owes me $200. Right? And they wanted to kill him. Right. And honestly, yo, seriously, he been running the event for a couple years. He made a mistake.
Yep.
Like, is it worth that? Is it worth everything that we went through? So that's why, like, sometimes artists tell me this, and I say, hey, you're out of my budget. And they kind of feel like, oh, you're being cheap. And it's like, at the end of the weekend, if I don't have money to pay you, you're not going to tell me, yo, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that. Not that I'm going to do that anyway, because we're very
we don't do that. We don't ever.
We're very responsible. But my point is, that's my point.
Yeah.
Because a lot of dancers are like, yo, we look out for each other.
Nah, bro.
Nobody was looking out.
I'll tell you even worse on that Sunday morning. Because Saturday, I remember having a good time because we debuted and we were in good spirits.
I mean, I had a good time all weekend.
I think Natasha and Michael didn't get in to the event.
On Friday.
On Friday or Saturday? So, I believe Alejandro did a social at Dance Sport. Like, yo, if you're not getting into New York, just come to my social.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right? So, look, I can't get mad at the hustle, though. I'm not
mad at him. But what I'm saying is that people need to understand that, yo.
No. I got you. Now, what was even crazier was Sunday. We get to tech. And they're taking the stage and the lights. They start pulling the stage down. Yo, and me and Jeff looked at each other like this.
I would die.
Now, let me guys.
Jose Alberto almost
wait. Let's talk about that. Since we're talking about nightmares, how scared we were. And I'm going to tell you, and it's going to be interesting what did this. So this last year, we did the New York Congress, and we booked Jose Alberto El Canario, and he gave us a rider. And on his rider, it says that he needs 9 monitors for the stage. And we had 8. And when we tell you that it was touch and go whether he was going to perform or not.
They said, yo, we can't, no hay sonido. Él no puede tocar si no hay sonido. His manager told me just like that.
After we paid him too. And then.
Yeah, he was paid in full. He was paid in full. And I stood next to the stage. And what I usually do, right, is first I say, all right, how can we fix this? Right? So we threw out some suggestions. But then the next thing is, what happens if this doesn't get fixed? What are we going to do? How are we going to save this?
Now, and
because if he doesn't play, everybody technically can ask for their money back and have an argument.
Yeah. So now me and Jeff are standing next to each other. We have our mouths covered. We're having a conversation. It was like casino when the guy's walking down the street. And we're just like, yo, what are we going to do? And I was like, yo, Jeff, I might punch this guy in the face if you don't sing tonight. I'll give their money back and I'll lose everything, but I'm going to get something. We got to get something out of this. And then we were like, yo, let's take another speaker from the other room and throw that shit on stage.
Throw that as a monitor.
Right? That's why we fixed it. And literally, it was like they were standing up there for an hour. Then he wanted us to kick everybody out.
It was really Jose Alberto that made it happen. Though.
Yeah,
because Jose Alberto was like, ¿Qué está pasando? Vamos a tocar. And it's like, oh, and his manager's like, el sonido no está bien. And he was like,
espérate.
Let's try it. Vamos a tratarlo.
And we brought a speaker in and we put it in for the singers, the background singers. And I looked at that guy like, bro, you better say this is fine. And he went like this. And then they did tech. Look, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now. They did tech for 10 seconds and he went like this. Me voy a cambiar. And he just
10
left.
seconds.
10 seconds.
10 second tech. We spent an hour.
An hour in there for 10 seconds for him to go and then go like, yo, I'm going to go change.
Yep.
And left. And me and Jeff sat there, bro. I don't think I've ever been that worried or concerned.
Bro, I drank a whole bottle of Johnny Black after he started because I was so panicked.
And then he did a great concert, so shout out to him.
He did.
But it was something.
But these are things that you can't prepare for.
And you know what? Look, I think this is going to sound really fucked up. I think this is what killed him.
I mean, I think that it would have killed me.
I don't think it would have killed you because you're strong and you're resilient. But I think he was in bad health already, and I think that this is like the nail. And I think it's fucked up to put that on the dancers because
you know what?
Ultimately, it was his mistake.
Listen,
but
when I bought Connecticut from Louis Lopez, shout out to Louis Lopez, I bought the studio from him, and then I ended up buying Connecticut from him, right? It was Connecticut Salsa Fest. About, like, once we finalized everything, he sends me a text. He goes, Jeff, I need to talk to you real quick. Give me a call. I call him back. Hey, Lou, what's up? Jeff, I just want to tell you one thing. I didn't tell you this the other day, but I want to make sure that I tell you this before you go. What's up? Don't let this event kill you, Jeff. I go, what? He goes, don't let it kill you. Told me just like this. I'm saying it here because he's going to see this.
Yeah.
He goes, don't let it kill you. He goes, it's not worth it. He goes, if you do what I say, you're going to be okay. What I've told you. And he said, and you're going to bring your own spin on that. But do not let this event kill you because it can. And he goes, and it's not worth it. And when I showed up, you know, he told me, yo, make sure you go to bed.
Yeah, get some sleep. I do remember that.
Make sure you go to sleep. He goes, the first year I didn't sleep all weekend.
Yeah.
I lost like 12 pounds my first event in 3 days because you just up and you're going. He said, he texts me every year, yo, make sure you go to bed. There's other people that can do things. Go to bed.
Lou's a good dude, man.
But you see what I'm saying?
That was the second thing. The first thing he said was take money out and tip everybody.
And tip everybody.
That was the first thing he said. Tip everybody and then make sure you
He
guys
said, yo, make sure you take money out and tip everybody you see. And I was like, what? He goes, tip everybody you see.
He said it's the best money you're going to spend.
He goes, the best investment of the weekend is to tip everybody. I said, all right. And I showed up and I tipped everybody. And you know what's funny? I did that in New York this year. And the guys were like, yo, what's this? I go, nothing, man. Here you go. And they're like, yo, man, do you need anything? You need anything at all? I was like,
it's definitely true, yeah. They gave us waters. Like the band was getting ready and they were like bringing out cases of cold water. Like, yo, it's for the band, bro. If you need anything, come see me. I'm
like, yo, whatever you need.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just part of the game.
Rest in peace, Choco. Rest in peace, David.
This was not to talk shit about him.
No, not at all.
Right?
I think
he just calculated that they, like, again, SBK is a perfect example.
Yeah.
He gets probably 1,500 people, and there's no way that more than 300 people can get in that ballroom because of how tiny it is.
Yep.
He just banks on the fact that he's gonna have a party in 5 floors.
Yeah.
But you know, if
they were sticklers,
if security said, "Yo,
yep,
this is past the fire code,"
100%.
He'd be shut down.
Dude, I'll be honest. At work, on my real job, we had a wedding at the Hilton here in Rye Brook. And the lady, the decorator, she put candles in like little cups of water. Like, you know, like those table candles that they have at dinner?
The little ones.
She put up like little candles around the dance floor, I guess, for like their first dance.
Yeah.
And there was an issue in the kitchen and it set off a fire alarm. So the fire truck showed up. They had to take everybody out. And when the FD guy came in, he called his chief and the chief shut it down because they had an open flame on the dance floor. This girl's wedding was ruined. We arrested like 4 or 5 guys that day because they were pissed. And you know what? I felt terrible because I'm like, I understand you being this upset, but for this guy to be like, "Yo, wedding's done," and this was like at 7:30. Could you imagine your wedding? The fun we had. They said at 7:30 it was over.
Bro, I can't.
Oh, Jesus.
Anyway,
good talk today, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate this. This was a good conversation today about the event. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. We are trying to, Jeff, obviously with the baby, we kind of had to take a little bit of a break, but we're going to try to get on it and be a little bit more consistent now. Edwin's going to be making his way back soon. Edwin has been super duper busy with some events, and we're hopefully going to get him back.
Mashingo Tolentino.
Okay, I know you guys have been asking. We fired him. We did not fire him. He is.
And by the way, the next episode we have, because we've been posting these up.
Yeah.
Those posts, we don't judge.
Yes. We listen
and we don't
judge.
judge. And we have a list of things. So I think one of the episodes we're gonna do is
just go through the whole list.
I'm a little bit offended by some of the things that some of the people said about me.
But I can't wait to hear about it.
Yeah.
Guys, make sure you follow us on social media. This scene of ours, make sure you follow Jeff on his. What's your social media, Jeff?
Jeff Huracan.
Mine is DJ Abel NYSC. Edwin_ Tolentino, if you want to follow him. And follow him.
I think it's 2 underscores.
2 underscores, yes.
Say what?
All right, New York Congress. Tri-State's coming up. New York Congress is coming up. We have pretty much our lineups ready to go, and we're going to be announcing that soon. I know we've kind of taken our time doing it this year, but we kind of have, like I said, we've had some really pressing things, like our new addition of the family, and those things kind of take precedence. Now that he's alive and well and happy and healthy and pooping on a regular basis, we're going to get back to getting to Congress season ready to go for us. All right?
All right.
On that note, thank you very much. Till the next time. Peace.
kind of hoping it hits you in the head.